firefighters from around the country and Canada likely to attend Wednesday's funeral for Lansing firefighter Dennis Rodeman. In fact, so large it will be at the Breslin Center at Michigan State University because of the number of people it holds. And the Lansing firefighter Steve Babcock tells the Lansing State Journal they want to leave the family in awe because it's about the memories. You know by now the gruesome, horrible, shocking story of firefighter Rodeman killed September 9th after he was hit by a pickup truck while collecting donations. You know, the Fill the Boot campaign where you throw coins into the boot for Muscular Dystrophy Association. And what it turns out now is that a young, disturbed person was upset because the firefighters were, in his perception, slowing down the traffic. And so there was a verbal exchange of some sort, and he threw something at the firefighters, a piece of fruit or some potato or something like that, and then circled around and ran them over. And you say, what in the world was going on there? What happened? How could that happen? Dr. Bart Rossi is a psychologist on the other end of our AT&T line. Thanks for being available this morning.
Nice to be with you again.
Well, you've had a look at the story and you've had a look at the details. What went on here, and why would this happen?
Well, what we see here is a pattern or a profile that probably exists with a lot of the shooters, as well as in this incident where the vehicle was the weapon. And what we have here is a young man that's had a lot of retained anger, as psychologists call it, generating into a rage. And he's had long-standing mental health issues. It's a problem that from what I've seen, these shooters, or in this case, this particular perpetrator, have long-standing problems that we call personality disorders. They exist in our society, and we're seeing more and more of these people act out impulsively and aggressively, and unfortunately, in a situation like this where we have another death. And it brings up a whole segment that I do often on mental health in America, because we could talk about guns, we could talk about violence, but what we really should be focusing on is mental health and what we can do about people, millions of people in our society who have serious personality disorders.
Surely, though, you can't see something like this coming, can you?
I think you can. In many of the shooters, you could look at their background and see a profile. And in this guy, from the little bit that I know already, he's had long-standing problems. People probably could identify that he is a loner, probably someone who on the outside looking in, feeling that he's not part of society, angry, very angry with retained anger and aggression. And I'll bet that as this unfolds, we'll find more and more about his personality that people probably noticed, probably saw things. But what do you do in our society? Where do you put these people? Where do you place them? We're not talking about an intervention or a counseling session that would be effective.
He's 22 years old. His name is Grant Taylor. He was upset because traffic was being slowed down, in his perception, by the firefighters with the boots there. It was Cedar and Jolly, if I'm not mistaken. So he honked his horn and threw an apple core at the firefighter. Then he drove away. Then he turned around and ran the firefighter down, Rodeman, right in the street. He does have a history of mental illness, and he is charged with murder and various other, fleeing the scene and that kind of thing. And he admitted to hitting him, but with a pickup truck, but he didn't say it was an accident, and he didn't say it was intentional. But what should we look for in somebody to know that they could go off like a ticking time bomb like this?
Well, I think we've all had folks either in our family or people we've known who look like they're overly aggressive. They look like they're a time bomb. They perceive the world in a different way. They seem very angry at a lot of things. And in this guy with his mental illness, I'll bet that there are signs that he was disturbed about, the way society is going, the fact that he might not be part of it. A lot of features that we could pick up on that where people have this rage or anger, hostility, to the point of which we suspect that they might be dangerous. And I think what happens, though, is that we don't know what to do with this.
Well, his own mother apparently asked the Ingham County Court to involuntarily hospitalize him for mental health and they didn't do it, it sounds like.
Well, this is exactly my point. This is where we're failing in mental health in America. I mean, where do we go with this? There are more and more people out there with these personality disorders, and we don't need people to say no. We need to have a system where, unfortunately, we can place people involuntarily to these facilities for mandatory treatment. That's where we have to go. It's not an easy question. It's not an easy issue. But we have too many folks with serious mental health issues. I call them personality disorders. A lot of psychologists, again, talk about this retained anger over time. There are signs. There are people that we see with all of these shooters, the same type of profile. I mean, they're out there, and we're not doing anything about it. And your point is exactly what I've been saying. We don't know what to do to accommodate, or a better word would be to contain these people.
Diagnosed with psychosis and bipolar disorder, he was.
Well, it could be bipolar. It could be maybe he was psychotic, or at certain times. But more than likely, he's had a long-standing personality disorder where he has had problems, interpersonal difficulties with other people, probably over an extended period of time. And it's probably been noticeable. As you just said, his mother wanted to do something, but the system failed. And this is the result.
Played football at Holt High School, dropped out of Michigan State. It sounds like the funeral will be from 10 a.m. till noon on Wednesday at the Breslin Center. The doors will open at 9 a.m. And I don't know how a family recovers, a young family, a growing family, from something horrific like this.
No, the short term is especially just almost impossible. I mean, psychologists can do a lot to help people over time with cognitive behavioral approaches, but in the short run, help from family, friends, so as much support as possible. But these situations are just extremely difficult. You never really get past them. You always just have to cope going forward with what has happened. And I say we need to have a mental health awareness in high school, in middle schools. We need to change the stigma on mental health. We can do a lot of things, but we're not doing it.
Dr. Rossi, thank you for the analysis and the warning, too, at 15 minutes after the hour. Dr. Bart Rossi.